The time had finally come. Almost 13 long years had passed since Hitler's death, since the time when they were trapped in Arkhangelsk, when it seemed likely that the only possible conclusion to their long march was dying of old age among the permafrost. And now, years later, the hated German Reich was rotting, while Russia had rebuilt part of its lost strength. The reborn USSR could only count on less than half the industrial capacity and population of the Reich. Numbers don't lie, but they can't explain complex phenomena. The Soviet science of war is based on Marxist materialism, not pure reason. Morale, organization, unity of command, these were the empirically immeasurable but existing factors that made Soviet victory all but assured. Tukhachevsky this way concluded his final report to the members of the Presidium and the Stavka. When all the bureaucracy had been dealt with, past midnight, only the most senior members were left in the room. It was only now that the discussion turned to the sword of Damocles that was hanging on them all. There was, simply put, no way of dealing with the question of Germany's nuclear arsenal. They had hundreds of conventional ballistic missiles aimed at known silo locations and the critical infrastructure surrounding it, and the rebuilt Soviet Air Force could be counted on letting no German bomber through. But if the Germans decided on an all-out nuclear strike, there was simply nothing that could be done to stop thousands of warheads streaking towards their cities. They simply had to hope that a mixture of fascist hubris, the fear of depleting the arsenals and leaving Germany exposed to American, Italian, or Japanese launches, and the shock of the fastest offensive in human history would delay the dodge long enough. It was too late to call everything off. The Union itself did not have a nuclear arsenal. The preparations for Operation BRUSILOV had observed the strictest protocols of secrecy, but even as overstretched and inefficient an intelligence service as Germany's could not avoid noticing 1.5 million Red Army soldiers massing on the eastern frontiers of their Greater Reich. They and their 5,000 tanks, 10,000 armored vehicles, and thousands of aircraft would now be launched west to crush the enemy. So here we are. The final conflict. Now, we have a massive fucking army. 72 divisions on the front, then another 40 in other areas that can attack west, and 48 motorized and armored divisions. This is going to be incredibly easy, let me tell you. Believe me, it's gonna be super easy. My objective is, it takes around 1 to 2 months for the AI to click the nuclear button, generally. They're pretty slow at doing it, which means that we can capitulate the eastern puppets and then start to move on Germany, and we'll see what happens then. So I'll be seeing you when the bullets are flying.
Welcome back, Grisha. Oh, how was recruit training?
Boring.
Ha, but necessary, Comrade Sergeant. Those recruits will soon be needed. Товарищи! It's good to see you all here today. And it will be even better to see you soon breaking through that wall. Then we'll teach those
German dogs
how to fight. They thought they could bully us into submission. They thought we'd give way and fall. But today, we'll show them that the Red Army bows to no one! Today, we'll show them the might of the Soviet Union! Get ready! We go to war!
Our officers kept whipping us into moving faster and faster, and we all knew why. If we went fast enough, maybe we wouldn't be the target of atomic bombs. We barely stopped for an hour in Moscow after the Germans abandoned it, and we weren't allowed to blow up all the fascist monuments plaguing the land. There were special battalions of armed demolition workers following every division that saw to that. For the same reason we didn't take a single prisoner, although I doubt many were in the mood to do so. Alright, so the first phase is over. Essentially, the first phase for me is when... Okay, let's actually finish this problem. The first phase is essentially when Muscovy as a whole is taken over. I haven't looked at like the amount of time that passed, but it's been probably like a week or two of offensive. And there goes Reichsprotektorat Russland. So this is essentially the first phase of the operation. Now I have my 3 main armies on just an offensive line towards Germany, while these other 2 armies are going to be cleaning up behind. And hopefully this is going to work in maximizing the speed of everything, because that's really the thing that's worrying me, is the speed of this entire process. So now I'm gonna have to bring up my tanks, unfortunately, that I've left behind, because I hate not micromanaging tanks, but the problem with micromanaging tanks is that, obviously, you need to always bring them forward. That's kind of an annoyance. So here we go. We are gonna deal with everything. And now our next objective is going to be Ukraine, essentially. The Reichskommissariat Caucasian did not rejoin the Unity Pact, so they are literally going to be left alone. There's nothing that I can do, or that I want to do, with Caucasian. They can go fuck themselves, essentially. Okay, so our advance guard got to Kiev, except they're surrounded by a bunch of random German units, so we're gonna have to reach them, and then the second tank wave sort of is going to seal the encirclement, while then everything that's gonna follow that is going to clean up, hopefully. Because the amount of Germans and German slaves essentially in this area is quite insane. They have a lot of guys, as you can see. And now another tank division got to Riga. So that's a nice little point, because then we can encircle whatever is up here in sort of Latvia, Estonia. And then that's going to be a launching point towards Eastern Prussia, which of course everyone loves. So far, no nukes have been launched. I'm not using the no nuke mod, so this is not me cheating, actually. This is 100% base the New Order experience. Oh, we are so close to this massive encirclement. Come on, please. Oh, no! The Romanian tanks are trying to break out. We gotta stop them. Stop them at once. And now there's another massive pocket out here in the east that we're gonna need to clear out. This is going marvelously, I must say. Which is why I hope that the New Order AI gets revamped somehow, because it's insane that it was more difficult to fight the Siberian Black Army than the German Reich. And that was entirely not because the Siberian Black Army was somehow more competent. It was entirely because Siberia, essentially, the terrain was insane. Now Ukraine has capitulated, which traps a lot more German forces. We are now in... essentially, we've been at this for 1 month. In 1 month, we went all the way from Nizhny Novgorod all the way to Riga, and well, I suppose Lutsk in the west. So this just kind of shows you the amount of speed that you can put out with these units, much faster than regular Hearts of Iron 4, in terms of just sheer technicality of gameplay. And now Ostland is dead. So now all the Eastern Reich's commissariats are gone. And our mechanized divisions are on the border of the Reich proper. We're on the border of Memel. And now, my tanks can also head in towards Romania, which is completely undefended, because all of the Romanian troops rushed forward into Ukraine to be surrounded. So we can capitulate Romania and probably Bulgaria too, without really much of a problem. That also takes out a vast majority, I think, of the German oil supply, which is not bad. Although Ploiesti, obviously, their production is not as impressive as it was in the years of the Second World War. The oil depots have run out a little bit. And it's time. Begin the advance into Germany. Also, we can liberate Warsaw. Because why not? We will never let the Polish get by without good Soviet help. Alright, now these units need to... oh, there goes Romania. Now these units need to spread out and take as much German territory as possible, because the key to this is for Germany to be essentially VP sniped and capitulated before they can press the nuclear button. Which is going to be difficult. We're going to need to be fast. This is like those action movies, or like those early 2000s video games when it seemed kind of implausible that like major wars would break out, and so if they were set in modern times, they would have like the enemy be some terrorist group with a nuke that they just like somehow got a hold of. So the objective is to stop the terrorists before the nuke goes off or whatever. Or like the biological weapons. I remember there was this game called, I think, SOCOM 2. Where you were on this container ship headed to Los Angeles, and it had like a biological weapon on it, and you needed to stop the big baddies from, you know, having the timer run to 0, essentially. This is our version of that. We are right now... Oh, there goes the general government of Poland, of course. And now also my tanks are ready to just like occupy Bulgaria. Hopefully they're just gonna do a World War II and just switch sides. Because, come on, you're gone. You're gone, bro. So these 2 tank divisions should be more than enough to deal with that. And the path to Germania, to the big building, is clear. We are going to take over the capital of the German Reich.
We have lost many brave men, but their sacrifice is not in vain. Our tanks now form a line of steel so powerful that all German resistance will be crushed beneath its mighty treads.
And we are there. With that out of the way, all that is left. We haven't even gotten the event where they're like, please stop doing this. That's insane. The smoke of the German factories is soon about to fade away into nothingness because the Germans are dead as a nation, at least in its current form. All these smokestacks must run out and fade out. They must stop spewing the black smoke of fascism. There we are. The ultimate demand. So, the ultimatum. Cease fighting immediately or be destroyed with nuclear weapons. We cannot be sure that they are serious. No. They're serious. They're always serious. Now, what's the issue? What's the actual issue at hand? If we take the white piece, for some insane reason, this is a white piece, so it restores every single Reichskommissariat. We get thrown back to east of Moscow. Get thrown back 1,500 kilometers. This, in my opinion, is unrealistic. It should... This white piece should be a white piece with the German Empire. It should let you keep all the annexed territory. It should be a, like, frozen front. Like, before the ultimatum, this is how the situation was on the ground, and this is how it's going to be. I think that would be the most... Also Crimea, fucking hell. I think that would be the most understandable way of doing this, but it's not how it currently is. Currently, this like taking the armistice is very punishing. So what we're going to do is we're going to game the system. The event has by default, I think it's hard-coded into Hearts of Iron for 14 days until you have to actually click it away. So we're just going to keep it. We're just going to keep the event popped. And we're just going to take every single German city. Right now, they are 46% towards capitulation. In fact, also, what the hell? I just realized that I advanced too fast for the infantry. The infantry literally now is very confused about what's going on. There is no more battle plan. And since these units are insanely fast, of course, since these units are insanely fast, we do not need to be particularly worried about them not getting to their objectives. The thing that we have to really worry about is the capitulation meter. There goes Bulgaria. Unfortunately not Germany. And what I'd explain as like a lore reason why the Germans aren't just like pressing the button right now is that, well, we're overrunning the silos one by one, and maybe the ones that they do press have been ruined because we sent hundreds of ballistic missiles, essentially, over Germany. So perhaps that has sort of paralyzed them. It's a thin reasoning. They'd be pressing those buttons right now. There would be at least tactical nukes heading around, but you know, nothing to like really cause the global thermonuclear war, of course. And there we go. There we go. That's the end of it. We get a peace conference, which is not supposed to happen in TNO, ever. But we get it. And we get to take all the Reich's commissariats. Now, we still have the ultimate demand, which is going to be active for 10 days, but I'm not sure if that's even, like, if that even makes... if that even does anything with Germany dead. But just to be sure, I'm gonna save. In my test run, it did a very interesting thing. So we get peace with the German Reich, which technically doesn't exist. There we go. It restores all the non-Reich's commissariats, although for some reason the German sovereign zone is not counted as one. So we're gonna need to console annex that, because really now, the German sovereign zone. And that's that. So the Unity Pact survives to fight another day. Although, of course, much weakened. Unfortunately, because of the nuclear option, it is impossible to destroy Nazism entirely, and Soviet troops have to retreat from Germany. But they have to retreat to essentially the 1914 borders, except Neu-Ostpreußen, which has been colonized by Germans. And now there's going to be a massive ethnic cleansing, probably, of millions of Ost-Germans, essentially, back into Germany, which is going to destabilize the German Reich, along with, you know, the Soviet troops having rampaged all throughout Germany and destroyed the German economy. So Nazi Germany is doomed, essentially. And the Project Molnia, Project Lightning or Thunder, one of the two, to build a Soviet nuclear weapon is now has all the time in the world to be complete. And so the Soviet Union has all the time in the world to be rearming itself for a massive attack sometime in the 80s, I would think. So I think that this would kind of make sense also within the framework of TNL, that there would be this kind of a settlement in the end. This could be quote-unquote realistic towards the plans that Panzer and Gang have towards the later stages of TNL. But, oh well. It's kind of weird how Finland did not join the pact, but whatever. That's gonna be about it. This has been done, by the way, with a cheat to declare a war on essentially Muscovy and the German sovereign zone, which brought in the rest of the pact. Currently, this is not possible in TNL, but again, I think that this is kind of plausible in as to what would happen in the future updates to the game. So yeah, that concludes the West Russian Revolutionary Front. We, in 1.5 months, have gone 3,000 kilometers from essentially the eastern Volga. This is the Volga. We've gone from the Volga to the Rhine in 6 weeks. That was a pretty good ending, I think. Again, every other time I'm gonna be playing, I'm gonna buff the German Empire, probably, because I'm gonna buff everyone. I'm gonna make the difficulty much harder, because this was incredibly easy, as you saw. So yeah, in any case, stay tuned for more TNL. Oh, of course, the Crimea. This is a little bit ridiculous, actually. Yes. Krimnash. Or Krimnasha, actually. It's for some reason feminine as well. So yeah, that's about it. See you all soon.